Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Fillion. Thanks for joining me on this review of Chapter 2, The Danger of Trusting the Agent, the companion discussion to the chapter. And in this one, I have some notes here, but I'm actually maybe just going to talk about what happened that inspired this chapter, and then come to the points maybe that I've written down here for the end. What happened that inspired this chapter in YouTube fashion story time, the danger of trusting the agent. As agents get better and better, they seem to take more and more liberty on their own to try to solve the problem, which seems to make sense because it's even similar to how you would act. The more confident you become, the more likely you are to try to solve problems on your own. Wild to make that comparison. Anyway, this is the case, and in my case, I see that happening in the problem solving that's happening in the self talk in the chat with different models. But I had two different experiences that happened in a row, and both of them were coincidentally benign, and I got away with them because they caused no harm and they were recoverable, so to speak. But that was just by coincidence. And what happened is, in one instance, there was a time where I saw in the chat log something going on that seemed fishy. And it seemed like when I saw the self talk happening in the chat log, that the model was responding to itself with information that I was confused. How did it get that information? And when I started to dig deeper and expand the commands that the model was running, I saw that it had run SQL injection using one of my local deployment scripts to access our production database, run queries. In this case, they were just exploratory for information type queries, querying against the information schema, nothing that was additive or destructive. But again, that's coincidental because it could have done whatever it wanted to test its theory or whatever it was. And then another instance is when, again, I had just asked a question, but noticing what's going on in the self talk in the chat, I see more files changing and something happening than what should be going on considering the question I asked. And at the end of it, the short story is that the agent had created a bunch of files, but then run a test and then remove them. And so when you would run git diff, there was no difference in the repo. Nothing had been, it was a net zero. So there was no difference. But I watched it happen and I saw files create and then delete, and the movement happen in the repo. And so I had to explore and dig deep to understand what had happened there. And again, this was a scenario where I just got lucky that what was happening in the chat and the liberty it was taking was not harmful. But I have since built guardrails to protect against this very behavior. And so, coming back to the point of the chapter, the danger of trusting the agent is you can't just walk away when you press enter and hit the command go and then expect that what the output is in the summary that output is enough to trust. You have to actually monitor this, steward, watch it happen, and understand what happened. Because in my case, it took me a long time to understand that the net zero was all that happened because I saw so much movement. So I was like, where are references? What happened? But that only happened because I was aware and watching the chat and seeing the repo change in real time. So the point here is that you have to be aware and vigilant and cannot blindly trust the agent. You can trust. So coming to the close, because I want to keep this one short and also make sure that I provide a bit of a counterpoint here, is that the title of this chapter is The Danger of Trusting the Agent. But I want to make sure it's clear that I am not anti-agent. It's quite the opposite. And it's why I'm giving this warning, is because I do use AI daily for my production tasks. And so this is not anything to say don't use this or I'm anti anything. It's just a word of caution and warning. And it's also not a call to or slow down what would otherwise be the acceleration given by the AI. It's just a call to keep ownership in mind and your ownership of your product ahead of the acceleration. You can't just blindly trust the acceleration. And remember that this is tying back to chapter 1, that earned judgment is the foundation here. The only way that you're able to follow what's happening in the self-talk in the chat log is if you have been through those commands before, if you've seen it. I recognize that's not information that chat should have right now. How did it get it? oh, it got it through other credentials and local hacks, well injection, which I've now prohibited in my guardrails. So this is about the lesson learned and how to avoid it yourself. So thanks everyone for tuning in and listening to my Affiliate ideas, and I will see you on the next one for chapter 3 review. Bye.